Hello, League City. Happy Monday. I know you're joining me today for Mondays with the Mayor. Mayor's a little under the weather today, so instead we have some guests joining us. Angie Steelman, Director of Budgeting and Project Management. Did I get that right? And of course, John Baumgartner, our City Manager. Thanks for pinch hitting today and joining in for the Mayor. He's going to get better and be fine. Just, I think, a little bit of a cold. But it gives us a great opportunity today to talk about the 2019 bond program and where we're at. Voters passed that overwhelmingly in May, and there's actually been quite a few things under design and in the design process. John, tell us what's going on.
Well, I always like to start with where we're at.
Yes, yes.
And as the audience knows, we passed the bond issue in May of 2019, and so everybody's ready to go. I think we've talked before that it's a process to build a project. We have to do some design, perhaps acquire some land, and then go to construction. And so since the bond election, actually before the bond election, we were actually under design with two of the projects. The South Calder Road project was under design, as was the Grissom Road project. And so both of those projects are well into design. In fact, Calder Road is ready to go to bid and start construction. And so we always think of Calder Road as a road project, but it's also a drainage project.
Yeah,
it has a heavy drainage component with that. And that project should be under construction, I would say, shortly after the first of the year.
Great.
Grissom Road is probably at the 30% stage, but really, what have we done with drainage? And it'd be nice to sit here and tell everybody that there's a single drainage project that solves all of the problems. And I think everybody knows there were 21 drainage projects included in the bond election.
Which I should point out was not that long ago. I know it's November, but May was not that long ago.
Right, and right after the election, I know we brought 3 projects forward for design. Since then, there's been 3 more, so there's a total of 6 that are currently under design. And on the next council agenda, which is tomorrow night, there are 3 more contracts that cover 4 more projects. So by November 5th, we'll sign a contract. We'll have 10 of the 21 projects under design and at various points.
And that's an important process. A lot of folks, I know, I'm one of them as well. You want to know when is construction, when is construction, but clearly the design process is a crucial part before shovels hit the dirt. And we need to make sure this is done correctly.
We need to make sure it's done correctly. And so if you think about where I need to buy land, and maybe Oaks of Clear Creek might be a good example, or even perhaps Bay Ridge, because those are the 2 early starter projects. We know we have some work to do over there related to high levels of water in the street, certainly street flooding, excessive street flooding. And both of those projects require some land acquisition. So we want to make sure when we're ready to go to land acquisition, we have the right parcels identified. They're the right size. Will it be an underground solution? Will it be a surface solution? And so do I need to buy part of one lot, part of multiple lots? And so again, I want to make sure I buy the right land. And so if I have to buy land, maybe I'll have willing sellers, and maybe I won't, because again, a surface solution, you got to see that every day next to your house, and some people will be less than enthusiastic about that perhaps. And it may necessitate going through eminent domain. So if I have to go through eminent domain, I have to have gone through a process to identify what I need in its complete sense.
Well, that's an important side. It's a process. And you can see that actually if you go to our bond website, leaguecity.com/bond 2019. We list the progression of stages that it has to go through. But we did want to update you that, as of November 5th, which is tomorrow, we'll have 10 projects under design of the 21, which is a pretty amazing feat with considering this only happened 6 months ago.
Correct. Each one of those contracts, they take anywhere from 4 weeks to 8 weeks to negotiate a contract, and then I have to get it scheduled for a council meeting because the council,
of course,
the community only gives me certain authority, and so
council has to approve those design awards. So that's what's happening tomorrow night. So you have to schedule that in as well.
Right, and then before the end of the year, we're working on 4 more contracts. So again, by the end of the year, we'll have 14 of the 21 in some form of design, certainly under contract and moving forward. So. And that's, kind of the high level where we at with the bond program. I know on the website, maybe Angie could speak to this, is how we update those individual projects that somebody wants to see where an individual project is, what the schedule is for 30% submittal or 60% submittal.
So there's a couple of different places that we have project information on the website. First, we have the bond website that Sarah mentioned. We have high-level information on there that explains where we're at and what we have planned going forward.
Yeah, and there's an interactive map as well, so you can
Yes.
kind of see everything. And then Angie and I and my team have worked together, so it's very much kind of a timeline and even a little diagram that shows you where each project is.
And that mirrors the handouts that were given out during the election time. So looking for a project, if you are part of that election process, they are labeled and sorted in the same format, so they're easier to find. Then over on the project management side, we actually have a CIP project status section of our website that has an interactive map as well. And we have more detailed information on each project's update. And then we also do updates probably once a month because they are in design. So a lot of things don't move super fast. There's not a lot to say except about once a month. And we put those in the city manager's update that's on our website.
And then I usually take those from the city manager's update. So perfect example right now, if you go to leaguecity.com, there is an update on quite a few of the drainage projects, mentioning that we have 4 more that'll be approved tomorrow night. So there's various ways that folks can kind of stay up to date. And then we've actually talked about in the new year having kind of a quarterly bond newsletter that gets emailed out to residents, just specifically updating projects. When we kind of get to that point where we can do videos and whatnot, when we're out of the design phase and into the actual work. So there'll be plenty of ways that folks can stay up to date.
And then closely related to the bond program, there are several projects that weren't included in the bond program that we've made progress on. So I think everybody's heard me talk about the Clear Creek watershed and Dickinson watershed study, because we know the core to all the major bayous is what happens on Clear Creek or what happens on Dickinson Bayou. And so at the last meeting, the council authorized us to move ahead in partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers, Friendswood, Galveston County, Dickinson, Webster, Nassau Bay, all the stakeholders along the creek, about a $1.5 million look at both of those major watersheds with a clear goal to lower the flood level in that. So that study is just getting underway. We have our first pre-kickoff meeting today with the Army Corps of Engineers, and it'll start going, but it'll be about an 18-month process. Out of that process, we hope to identify projects that we can further partner with the federal government, the Army Corps of Engineers, the state, or other stakeholders from the watershed to bring major projects forward. You know, one of the things that happened during Harvey, they have an upper Clear Creek project moving forward because it had been studied. The big challenge with us on Clear Creek is developing a consensus on how to move forward with some of the solutions that are there.
Well, and this study will be important, because it is a study. So we need to know what those possible problems are that are out there that regionally, it's not just us, it's all those cities you mentioned. And then what are the mitigation strategies moving forward? And money. It's going to take this a cohesive, collaborative approach across all the cities in this region to do something about it. You can't just do one in one and not in another, you know, because it's all interactive.
And then council also approved the de-snagging project, at least look at Lower Magnolia Bayou, Newport Landing Ditch, and
Cedar Gully.
And Cedar Gully. And so we're going to look at those, you know, where those watersheds start to meet Clear Creek. And then I think those of you who live in the Dickinson Bayou watershed, there's some work going on in Dickinson on de-snagging some of those bayous. Both Gum Bayou and Benson's Bayou and Magnolia Bayou have had some work done on them, which should improve the overall flow from the upstream to the downstream. So we've got things going on.
So really, John, there's a lot of work going on. Just that regional agreement that I know that the council kind of put you in charge of was a task in itself to get all those 7 entities. I know you're going to Pearland next week, actually, because they're joining in on the study. I'll give a shout out to you, John, for doing all that. And actually, you know who else gave you a shout out? Go, John, great man for our community, Rudy Salcido.
We love Rudy.
So Rudy has a question too.
I love Rudy.
Rudy's going to throw in a question. Rudy wants to know, what about Dickinson Avenue?
Well, you know, I'm glad Rudy asked that question because, you know, Dickinson Avenue, we started that about, I'll say 9 or 10 months ago. Contractor actually shortened the construction time as part of his bid. And he's almost done with the southern end, and I'd like to say we're almost ready to open up the two-way traffic between 96 and FM 646. We've been delayed on the northern end, so right there by Power or Beaumont, there's some coordination to take place with Frontier Communications. If I've been told correctly, Frontier Communications is complete. We'll see remobilization of the contractor on that piece, starting with the drainage work that has to go in on the underground piece of it. And the goal is still to be complete by the end of January, weather permitting. I think the contractor's optimistic that he's going to get there. So I didn't go by today, so I don't know if they rolled in the heavy equipment to start the drainage work again, but we would anticipate that to be done to get started again in the next few days. I appreciate the patience for the folks that have worked out there. Obviously, the contractor wants to work efficiently, so he did all the demolition work and then got stalled when he got to the northern piece. It's not all been for naught. He has done stuff on the southern end and is going to get that open before schedule, and did work out a sequence with sidewalks and ditches and ditch cleaning and stuff like that. So
it's all those steps and moving parts that you don't realize play into it with other entities, because
we don't completely control the franchise utilities. They have to relocate, but at the end of the day, I think if you're a citizen along Power Street or Beaumont Street, you just as soon see your cable and your TV and your phone systems stay connected rather than not, which is the other option.
Makes sense.
They thought they were clear. When we dug through it, there's a big culvert that connects from, I'll say Beaumont, but it might be Power, into the ditch, and it has to go underneath those cables, and so they have to relocate. So it's unfortunate. I still, like I said, much more optimistic. It's again, kind of a 12-month goal to get it done. I think we're going to be close to that within a month or so. So we feel very, very good.
All right, Rudy, you asked. We gave you a good answer there. Thank you for being here, John. Angie, let's talk about some of those mobility projects that are outside of the bond. We're actually going to be having a town hall. If you haven't seen it on Facebook, next Tuesday, November 12th. We're going to be talking about all the traffic and mobility projects going on in our area, and TxDOT will be there to update us on their portion. But talk about some of those projects that are underway as part of the capital improvement program.
So John touched on a couple of the projects that are part of the bond, which is the Calder South, which is from Urban to Cross Colony. Also Grissom Road. Calder's close to going under construction. Grissom is in early design. We also have a third one, that's the North Landing Extension, and that's something that TxDOT will touch on.
Right.
It's part of, it's a joint project between us and them. It does have the grant funding as part of the construction. So that's kind of the overview for mobility. We also have some funding from a Galveston County bond. So we have the construction of Dickinson Avenue that's being funded that way.
Yes, we were talking about that the other day. You may not realize you approved this in 2018.
I believe it was late 2017, first part of 18.
Okay.
Yeah. We also have 3 other intersection improvements that's part of that are also under design at Highway 96 and State Highway 3. We also have Walker, or also known as West Walker, and Highway 96, and then Highway 96 at I-45. TxDOT is going to be doing a right turn lane there, but it's going to be kind of short to the Jack in the Box. And then we also have the Galveston County funding that will extend it, we're hoping, to Butler. And then the city's also looking at extending it to where it drops off right now across from the YMCA.
So a lot of projects about to kick off and start. We know the 2 big issues for our residents that are up there that are most concerned about is drainage, of course, and then traffic and mobility. So a lot of things going on. If you want to know more, come on out November 12th. Angie will be there, John as well, and TxDOT will be there. And in addition to kind of telling you about all these projects, we'll take your comments and questions as well, because we do want to hear from our residents about tie-ups, areas, even if you feel like a light needs to be adjusted or a turn lane needs to be put in somewhere. We need to hear from our residents that are out and about every day, battling different parts of the city. As you said, you can only be in so many places at one time. Yes. So we need to hear from them.
So Angie talked about some bottleneck projects. And so when we look at the bottleneck projects, how can we more effectively move traffic through the congested signalized intersections? Because they have limited time to pass cars through. And so she talked about 3 or 4 of those. We're also looking at the intersection of 518 and State Highway 3, and we'll put some auxiliary turn lanes in there with that, or lengthen the auxiliary turn lanes. How can we move traffic most effectively through that? We all know that I-45 and 518, 96, 646 are probably our most congested intersections. When the construction's done, that will be improved, and then we will look at is there anything else that we can do to do that? And then a little bit longer term down the line, we're looking at all the intersections on League City Parkway from Hobbs Road to Maple Leaf, and add auxiliary turn lanes, add signals there to help move traffic more effectively for the folks that have to travel that route every day.
Well, before we go, we had some questions that came in. How about Landing Boulevard extension? You want to tackle this one, Angie?
So that's the one I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
That's part of the GO bond election. So in late August, we got environmentally cleared by TxDOT. We are wrapping up getting the final design contract approved. It's under TxDOT review currently. And in the next couple of months, we will be bringing that forward to council after all the TxDOT review comments have been addressed by the consultant. Getting that final design underway is very important. It'll help us, finish up the design. It'll also help us be able to start the land acquisition.
Absolutely. And one other one, John, before we go, what about 518 and South Shore Boulevard? This is that sinkhole, and I think that water.
Oh, 518 on South Shore.
Yeah.
That's my favorite
Yes,
project.
because it's right by your house.
And I know, yes, sir. And I know the schedule. So the week of
November 13th.
The contractor is going to get mobilized. We're going to close the northbound lanes for that week and get that culvert replacement project underway and completed. I think it's about a 3 or 4 week total construction, but we'll have the lanes back open after a week. Again, weather permitting,
Right.
We don't find anything down there that we don't know about.
And we have the detour map actually on our website, leakcity.com. It'll
Yeah.
tell you those dates, and then it has a map that kind of shows you how
Right.
traffic. And we know it's going to be a pain, but that sinkhole needs to be fixed because of that water being that rogue.
Obviously, we've coordinated closely with CCISD, particularly as it relates to getting kids to and from Ferguson. I think there's one neighborhood that's going to get stranded on the 518 side of that intersection, and they've got a route down Lawrence Road that will take them back, and then southbound won't even be affected,
won't be affected at all.
So there is light at the end of that tunnel,
Yes,
and
yes.
we're glad to have our contractor ready to go.
Anything before we go, guys? So we want to point out or let our residents know about? Our time is wrapped up and went by quickly.
Yeah, well, as it relates to mobility projects, any input you have, I would encourage you to attend the town hall meeting
Absolutely.
next week,
Next Tuesday.
November 12th, and give us your ideas. Don't hesitate to communicate outside the town hall meeting. Send me an email, send Angie an email, send Christopher Sims an email. The development of the CIP is an ongoing process, and again, want to make sure we try to build the best transportation system out there that moves people, to and from their homes and work and school and other activities. So appreciate all the support from the community.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. The time went by fast. I really, really appreciate it. I will see you guys again on Wednesday for our Lunch and Learn. We're going to be talking about Holiday in the Park. It's right around the corner, believe it or not. We'll see you then.